Imagine if science could prove sleeping around in your youth could ruin your chances of having a happy, fulfilling marriage later. That's what Dr. Joe McElhaney of the Medical Institute for Sexual Health in Austin says new research shows.
Neuroscientists have produced a lot of information just in the past few years. This is new.
And he reveals in the book, Hooked,
the most modern neuroscience available to man today.
Research using brain scans now shows powerful chemicals are released during sex that should create a powerful, everlasting bond. For women,
their brain secretes oxytocin that causes them to bond emotionally to that man. Men secrete a hormone called vasopressin when they're having that kind of intimate behavior, and it bonds them to the woman.
This oxytocin is so overwhelming in a woman's brain that just a 20-second hug can cause a female to become bonded to a male. A 20-second hug. Both sexes get addictive doses of dopamine as well during intimate behavior, which does work well for couples out to create lifelong marriages and stable families.
They're addicted to sex and babies result from that.
But that bonding, which acts like adhesive tape or Velcro, is weakened when people tear away at its power by breaking off with a sexual partner and moving on from one to another to another. So when it does finally come time to bond permanently with a spouse, the ability to bond is damaged.
The brain actually gets molded to not accept that deep emotional level that's so important for marriage.
One huge result of this for the permissive?
When they do marry, they're more likely to have a divorce than people that were virgins when they got married.
Across much of the culture, this big scientific news isn't known and certainly isn't much communicated to youth, who these days live in a sexual Wild West. Teen evangelist Jeffrey Dean runs websites checked out by 1/3 youth every year. Thousands tell him they're pressured to be sexual and are often wounded by it.
Anything goes is the new rule, and in the process, kids are experimenting, but they're finding out there's great hurt and baggage along with that.
Dean says he hears all the time from kids who've started having sex way too young about the effect these bonding chemicals in the brain have. They'll write,
"Well, this relationship didn't work, but I'm so emotionally attached to what happened there. I'm looking for that again, even if it means making choices that I don't even want to make or that I know are against God's will for my life."
McElhaney says the long-term harm from ripping away at that bonding is bad enough, but he points out research also shows damaging this chemical bonding in the brain can hurt young people now.
If adolescents are sexually involved, they're more likely to be suicidal than their friends who are not sexually involved. Girls are 3 times as likely to be suicidal. Boys are 7 times as likely to be suicidal as their friends that are still virgins.
Such research is why McElhaney pleads with parents to counsel kids to stay abstinent. He also says parents must realize it's a much more dangerous world sexually today than when they were young.
Only about 1 in 50 kids, for example, had a sexually transmitted disease back in the 60s. Today, 1 in 4 of all adolescents has a sexually transmitted disease.
And 1 more young person gets an STD every 4 seconds. Dean can't shake from his mind a note he got from a young woman who'd only slept with 1 guy.
She went on to college, and 3 years after the sexual relationship from high school, she had not had another sexual partner, and she found out that she was HIV positive from this guy 3 years later.
McElhaney has 1 more big piece of news from brain scan research. Maturing in the brain is shown here in blue. The research shows the prefrontal cortex, where wise decisions and judgments are made, doesn't fully mature until the mid-20s.
So it's impossible, because the brain tissue is not there in a mature way for kids to make fully mature decisions. We're talking 24, 25, 26, before the brain is really mature.
So McElhaney and Dean both insist parents have to guide and keep guiding their young people. Dean says they actually want it.
Students tell us overwhelmingly at the top of the list, the greatest influence in my life is mom and dad.
In his book, The Fight of Your Life, Dean says parents should explicitly state to their kids they expect them to remain abstinent and back it up with scripture, like 1 Corinthians 6:18.
Flee from sexual immorality. Well, no, God is saying here, listen, don't even dance around it. Don't even get near it.
And McElhaney points out you now have science of the brain to back you up.
The science proves that human beings are made to be monogamous for life with one other person in a faithful relationship. It is the way human beings are made.
Dean says just make sure you back up your demands with solid support.
My teens need to see from me that I am approachable and that I am unshockable.
And no matter how badly a young person might fail, they should know
Mom and Dad are going to have my back.
Paul Strand, CBN News, reporting from Austin, Texas.